Dementia. Well, if Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know?
True, bro. It's like asking Antonio Brown when he got his first concussion. Like, he's very stupid too, so he's gonna be a little bit silly. Oh wait. Oh no.
Well, if Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know?
I'm happy someone on TV saying this, because when Trump talks, it's so dumb and pathetic and emotional. Like, you're being so mean to me. Where am I right now? I'll give you an answer tomorrow. Like, you would never know if Trump lost his mind completely, because he never had it. He never needed to. He just said emotional, dumb things, and people liked it because it played to their emotions. The white identity politics.
Donald Trump's mental decline, which is more and more obvious, started from such a low level of mental processing power that it's hard to track his decline. It's from low to lower.
True, bro. Even Joe Biden, okay? In Joe Biden's worst moments, when Joe Biden could not really speak very well, when he was, having issues with his stutter, getting very tired, unable to walk very well, unable to answer questions, unable to pronounce certain words, when he closed his eyes and he looked really confused, like when he did that thing, like, oh, where am I right now? Joe Biden could explain to you how the Chips and Science Act brought back manufacturing to America. He could explain that intricate policy to you, but Trump does not understand how literally anything works at all. Okay, so, Joe Biden did look bad and unhealthy, but at least he tried to answer questions in a somewhat complicated way. Trump never even tried. And Trump's voters have no standard for him. So, I mean, he never needs to. I'm waiting for someone to chat something. There's no one in chat or liking the stream, so I'm confused. I don't know if anyone sees it. So I'll be patient. One person liking it. One person. Okay. Thank you. Usually it takes a little bit. I tried a dumb stream title too, so I might have to change that. The White House celebrating Pride. Oh no. That's crazy.
Rhino Warmonger, so Rhino Warmonger Lindsey Graham, he recently called on the U.S. to go all in.
That's quite the lead to a question.
Right. What's your message to everyday Trump supporters? Not the Tucker Carlsons or other big names, but everyday Trump supporters, grassroots who voted for President Trump to stop the wars, rejected this in the primary. going into another war with voting against Nikki Haley, and they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war.
That's crazy, Kyle.
Trust
That's
in
crazy.
President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump.
Trust in President Trump. I love suckling on Donald Trump's ballsack. Donald Trump's ballsack tastes so good. Donald Trump is the best person ever. He is our king. He is our Lord and Savior. We love Donald Trump. My answer to every question is I love Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is the best, and Donald Trump is our Savior, and Donald Trump was sent here by God to save all of us. No more questions.
Kept America and the world safe in his first term as president.
Trump kept the entire world safe, brother. Except the how many combat fatalities did American soldiers have under Trump versus Biden? Like 3 times more under Trump, right?
Implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect
Slogan,
to Iran,
slogan,
nobody
slogan.
should be surprised by the president's
is often
position
crazy.
that
That's
Iran
crazy.
absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate, but also as a private citizen. In fact, I have
Private
some quotes for
citizen.
you. In
When
2011,
Donald Trump threatened to bomb the Central Park 5. Who's this guy? Someone wants to give me a call. Call right now. Someone just call right now? Oh, here. I'll call you back. Someone just called me. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Right now. This is the YouTube Politics stream. I'm calling you back.
Hey, we talked before. This is James.
Howdy, what's up?
Hey, man. Hey, to the war, but it's a little gossipy, I guess, like politics gossipy. I kind of want to get your opinion on something. So, I know you don't talk too much foreign war, but like what I noticed, when I was just watching, different streamers, I noticed like, who, not Destiny, the other guy. Oh my God, I'm blanking.
Destiny, Hassan, Vosh, I don't know.
Oh, jeez, I can't really. I'm blinking. No, it's the guy with the curly hair and the glasses. He used to be cool with
hair,
he's
curly
like
hair and glasses.
from the UK. Yeah, he's like from the UK. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Blunderbox?
Blunderbox, yes. Blunderbox and this thing I recently have been noticing because I kind of wanted to see their opinions on the war, and I don't know because they never didn't too much talk like it before. I don't know if it's more like we just want to spike the left, but they both are like coming out like pro-Israel attack and us attacking Iran and defending the position that it's fair for them. At least they're defending the position that it's good, it's fair and good that Israel is attacking Iran. And this is the last part of this question, and it's funny because I remembered I left a comment on my Disney's video like more than a year ago, and it was to like one of his fanboys, and I remember I told him, I was like, bro, the way you guys are like bottom feeding off of streamers, I swear Destiny would have been pro 2000, pro the Iraq war, and you guys would have went along with it. And then it's funny enough, and now we're here, and it's actually to me happening. I don't know. What's your opinion on why people are moving that direction? Like, I don't know if that was a good way of posing the question. But.
I do think I watch Destiny a decent amount, and I do think they say things to contradict the online left. And the online left is very pro these countries like Iran and pro Palestine and radically so they don't really look at much nuance. But then in response, like I saw Destiny today respond to someone talking about bombing Iran, and I had the same thoughts actually that you're saying right now, and I'm like, wow, it sounds like they're talking in a pro-war attitude towards Iran, like it's necessary, like the clip of Netanyahu the past 30-something years, 40-something years, talking about how Iran is gonna have nukes by tomorrow. And then he kept on saying it over and over and over again. Destiny saw that, and he said like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, as if things don't change over time. Like maybe the situation changed." I'm like, dude, like he's a known liar. Like Netanyahu's a known liar. It doesn't matter if you're on the left or right. Like I'm not super far left on foreign issues, but like he is extremely known as a liar and a war hawk. And in the same way that Bush would lie about WMDs or Cheney or whoever, Netanyahu's known to do the exact same thing. He's very anti-diplomacy, just like the classic Republican warhawks in America. So the fact Destiny sees that clip of Netanyahu saying that the past 30-something years, I mean, it's true there is some nuance to it, obviously, but
Mhm.
overall, it's directionally true. And it's really crazy to see like Destiny saying like, "Oh, there's no point to this at all to care about. I mean, we should be bombing." It's just like I don't know.
Yeah, no, and it's the same thing with lower box, because before the incident, we'll have to go over that. Lower box was cool with Destiny, and it seems, I don't know, like I said, just similar to like the whole Hutch conversation we had. It just seems like these guys' brains get broken so badly by internet drama. It We talked about how it'll influence your politics, because I remember lower box used to be pro-Palestinian maybe 2 years ago, and now he's kind of on his own. Like even though Destiny, he's still following the same patterns. Like everything is a chance to snipe Hassan. You know, I mean, like I don't like
Yeah,
him. I'm not
and
for that.
it is important to remember because I think the left does forget that these countries are all very violent countries. The civilian populations are
Mhm.
victims largely, but these are societies that turn to dictatorships and regimes and all that stuff all the time. But
Yeah,
lefties focus more on like the Western influence there and the bombing campaigns and sanctions and blaming America for, or I mean, other countries for these other countries for not developing at all. But even the countries like
Mhm.
Saudi Arabia and like the UAE that can develop, they keep these very dictator, authoritarian, very regressive policies for social policies for women and everything as well. So even if there's prosperity in the Middle East, they still have a very, I mean, they agree with Donald Trump on most of their social positions, to be honest.
yeah.
But yeah, one thing that really stood out to me in the conversation with the New York mayoral race and Zohran Mamdani, you have
Mhm.
someone who seems like a pretty decent guy, and he is facing a lot of Islamophobia, like directly. It's a very interesting campaign. It's a huge surge in popularity. It's a historic success by all metrics, and the race is not done yet. And he's more far left than I am. But the fact that
Mhm.
Democrats in general, the establishment, and also voters are choosing Andrew Cuomo, who is a serial racist, rapist, sexist, misogynist, whatever words you can use, and he's corrupt as well. The fact the party's falling behind Cuomo is a big moment where you see Palantir and all these big money interests going behind Cuomo, spending
Yeah.
like $30 or $40 million in super PAC money to support Cuomo's campaign. And it's crazy to see him versus Mondami, where it's like, well, I don't think that these policies are going to work. How about we let the random Democratic Socialist in, try his grocery stores and shit. And if it doesn't work, I'd rather stupid policies and good people who have good intentions rather than the most corrupt Trump acolyte in the world in Cuomo, who barely even knows where he is.
Yeah.
And he makes all Democrats look worse for Cuomo. And Cuomo's going to let ICE tear apart New York City. We already know that. So, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, so that's a big
Okay.
thing for me when seeing commentators talk about the mayoral race in New York City, and even for voters. It's just very confusing.
Disgusting.
And it really shows the party influence. And money's not the only thing, but it's party influence, it's endorsements, it's the whole political machine. And if the machine's against you, it's going to be hard to win. But they always discount Bernie or AOC for the success they have, not
Yeah.
realizing like where these are generational candidates who are
Yeah.
not getting nearly any support from the Democratic machine. Which, if they did get that support, their policies would be more popular. But they have the left and the right attacking them constantly. But yeah, with these
Yeah.
online centrists, they give no credit to those points at all.
No, I've seen Hutch and Destiny actually, and no, I don't hate Hutch by the way, but I've seen Hutch and
No, I just
Destiny
talked to Hutch
attack.
like a week, 2 weeks ago. I had a good convo with
Oh
Hutch.
yeah,
I'm good at bridging the gap between people like him and more progressive types. And I watched that Live and Learn show. They said they'd have me on
me too.
sometime, but their conversations on this topic are terrible. They miss the point completely. They miss the point
Yeah.
of like Democratic primary voters choose Democratic candidates, and we're talking about like we need candidates who can get low propensity voters,
Mm.
independent voters, which independent voters are the largest voting bloc in America. Democrats pick bad candidates that don't appeal in general elections. Like Bernie Sanders, for example, appeals less to Democrats, so he loses a primary. But every single data set we have, at every like a poll we have, and even just like talking about AOC's cross support with Trump supporters, it shows these populist candidates get low propensity voters, and especially white and Hispanic men, much better than the other candidates do.
Yeah.
The more
I
like boring candidates. So they just ignore
yeah,
those different
they
factors.
do. They and just to split it up, like in terms of intuition versus data, but I've seen this random interview like where they were going on the street and asking people about Zoran and Cuomo, and specifically more they did like for older people, and they did it for younger people. What they found is obviously we know that younger people barely vote. They'll complain and be like, oh, like for example, there's this one dude minority. And he was like, oh, I don't want to vote. I'm not voting. I don't know what they stand for because, voting never works. And you kept hearing that come up. And then when they were going to vote, it was like, oh, I'm going to vote Cuomo. They're like, why? Because I know Cuomo. I don't know who Zoran is or his policies. It makes you think. I wish the interview would ask them, that he did this and this and this, right? And I'm pretty sure they do. But, people always complain about the system, but then they don't even do their own homework. They don't pay attention. They'll vote for the same guy just based off of name recognition.
Well, I mean, for Zoran, like I like that Lander guy. I think his name is Brad something. What's his name for the mayoral race? What is it, Lander? Brad Lander.
Yeah, you're close.
Like he seems like a really good public servant. I've seen his interviews after that ICE arrest this week. And like he seems like a pretty good guy as well. But Zoran has by far the best chance to beat Cuomo, and Cuomo I think is a stand on the entire party nationally. And if those Hutch and Destiny types want progressives to hold their nose and vote for any candidate at all, any centrist, they should probably have the same mentality more so when it comes to these candidates who are very socialist. And I mean, they will vote for them in the primary for sure. They're not going to be like Hassan and tell them not to. But even when it comes to talking about these candidates, it's like, politicians run on idealistic policies. And Zoran, his tax rate that he wants is to equal what New Jersey has. He wants to keep the same police force in New York City and expand social workers on top of the already existing police force there. And he wants to run the grocery store stuff, and that might not work. It very well might not work in the same way that they run like the state-owned liquor stores and stuff, in the same type of system. But it's just it's really complicated to talk about all these different things, and they're gonna continue to say like. I heard Destiny say, well, money cannot influence politics because Michael Bloomberg came in the race and he spent so much money and like he did not win. And I'm like, Michael Bloomberg is literally the least charismatic person you can find. He came into the Democratic primary, dumped all this money in, and he was still polling at 15 or 20%. That's a really high number off of just money alone. So just money alone can get Michael Bloomberg to 15 or 20% because he can get mailers out and ads and all this stuff out to people who are low information voters. But yeah, I mean, that's a Bloomberg being able to have any type of competitive standing in that primary was a huge sign that money has a big influence, to be honest, but they don't look at that nuance. They're like, well, Bernie lost, he's a failure. Bloomberg lost, it's a failure. It's like, no, there's nuances in this.
Yeah, and when you're on the Live and Learn show, specifically that talking point that Hutch brought it up, I think yesterday again, and it annoyed me, and I wanted to tap in and chat. I'm like, when you bring up the fact, for example, and I heard you say this before too, and when you bring up the fact that where there's a poll where it says like left-wing ideals or Democrats are, it was something like Democrats.
They don't want to go left. They think they're too far left. It's like no voter knows what the hell that even means. Yeah. That's
what I said. Even in my friends who are normies, right, they're more like, they're online, so they like the Andrew, they like the right-wing types, because they're surrounded by the anti-woke stuff. When I ask them left, they don't tell me policy. What they're telling me is like, trans, all that, agenda.
Immigrants,
oh my God.
Anti-white.
Yeah, because it's super popular, the propaganda war. Matter of fact, let me give you an example. I turn on, I like movies, right? Turn on a random movie podcast, like a podcast, like in the studio, and they're talking about how, I'm tired of seeing all this trans stuff in the, at Target. I'm glad it's gone. And I was like, I'm watching a movie podcast. Why is this so political out of nowhere, right? And they tell it as a joke. So a lot of people, they're against like you said, when they hear left wing, they're so propagandized because it's all over the internet and entertainment that left wings, those agendas, they don't think economy. But when you look at Trump, where he does stuff that is very anti-capitalist, these dudes like root and holler for it. So that just tells you right there. Yeah.
Taxing the wealthy is very popular. Taxing the extremely wealthy is extremely popular. And I heard Destiny say that's a bad issue to run on, which I'm like, where are you? Like, what kind of internet-induced autism with the online left are you suffering from? Like, that's insane to say if you talk to any voters in real life. Almost every voter, like even like a very high percentage of voters want to increase taxes on the ultra wealthy. The only ones that don't are like Bush Republicans. Like even they are coming over more so now. But yeah, those independent voters that watch these podcasts, that vote off of vibes, all right, they love that kind of shit. They love the whole me versus you energy. And that's why if you live in a populist era, you probably need some populist rhetoric to get people on your side, because it counteracts a lot of the white nationalist rhetoric, and we have to beat white nationalism. And FDR, I mean, he did he did operate as an authoritarian. He still was in the confines largely of our constitution for most things. But like in that era, people wanted a more authoritarian type globally. We had global nationalism rising after, I mean, obviously during the World Wars and through the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And America had a huge white nationalist population, but FDR was able to use very fiery rhetoric and to master the communications at the time, mastering the radio and everything at the time, and passing new regulations for radio and understanding the communications. FDR was able to block the white nationalist rise in America. We had a huge force in America that actually was on the side of Hitler more so, or at least on the side of a more far right-wing coalition. And they would have wanted to approach a lot of things differently. Yeah, but we don't understand, in this current era, we're having nationalism surge. We're having this happen globally. We probably need someone who's going to be like, the liberal version of Trump is going to be, law abiding, but at least someone really fiery that can really position themselves inside a narrative. Delivering the message is a huge point. It's not just, I usually divide it into like 3 different lanes. So one would be the impact you want to have. So impact. Then framing, how do you want to frame it? Is it more policy, more culture, more narrative? And then also delivery. So what impact do you want? How are you going to frame it? And how are you going to deliver it? And we need to be able to connect on those 3 points to beat Trump, especially with fascism. Fascism is only beat by the culture war, which is scary, unless if the economy crashes and people have to run back to liberals.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like going back to that podcast example and my friends, and it's like literally like they were successfully able to make like being empathetic to other groups or whatever very uncool. it's like you're living in like bizarre world, and like you bring that up and it's like not popular. I'm talking about with normies. So yeah, it's don't know how you defeat. I saw this meme. Maybe you gotta do stuff like that. Start making fun of that, and then it shows like a son, a lady's like sending off her son to war, Iran war, and he's like, "Mom, why am I going to the Iran war?" And she's like, "Because Trump is fighting the woke." It was a really funny meme. It kind of like irritates me, but like what you're saying.
Yeah, they need to stop being a part of why left-wing policies are less popular too. They are one of the reasons it polls in a certain way. If Democrats supported, like the polling for universal healthcare in America is higher than it seems, or it's higher than it actually is. The polling says a really high number, and the survey questions matter a lot. But like a Kyle Kalinske will say that means America wants universal healthcare right now, which I'd say I disagree with. But also the numbers we get with like a Medicare for all in public opinion polling, after both the Democratic Party and Republican Party structured themselves to be completely anti-Medicare for all, those numbers are impressive, and that's the nuance we have to understand on political messaging and influence. Why are the numbers where they are? How can we move the numbers? What's the potential to move it? Just like Charlie Kirk describes, how he approaches his propaganda and organizing. The left needs something like that. And I don't know. And the idea, like, some issues you just don't need to be an expert on. Like with Destiny and Hutch and all them. There's some issues, even with foreign policy. Let lefties say dumb shit sometimes. It's fine. Like, you don't have to be an expert on every single issue. Like, it really does not. You don't need to be. Foreign policy does not matter that much to Americans on the grand scale, unless if shit goes really wrong. So I mean, Trump might be more popular after this Iran stuff. Like, it's hard to say. But we need to be developing a messaging apparatus and key messaging points. And the only ones I see on that team are the left, because Palantir is buying off Hakeem Jeffries and Ruben Gallego and Andrew Cuomo, and all these different people are being bought off by Palantir. So what are we going to do once Palantir buys off half the Democratic Party, and we need to install more AI regulations? So like, do we have a narrative? Are we going to be able to, or are we just going to play nice with them? Like Cory Booker standing for 25 hours in the longest speech in Senate history, writing a book about it, and then voting to confirm Charles Kushner, who is Jared Kushner's dad. Like, why is Booker voting for Charles Kushner? He did nothing with that standing. It was all posturing. It was weak posturing too. It did not move public opinion. It's just to sell books, just so he could vote for Trump's nominees. It's crazy.
And one more thing I was going to say, just to comment off what you just said. I did hear Hutch and certain people, and even Wildenbach talk about AI. And even the way they talk about AI, like, oh, people are just fear-mongering about AI. I think AI
what?
is great. It's great
There's
technology.
no. Okay, I did not see them say. this or talk about
I
this.
yeah.
If they actually said that, it's one of the dumbest opinions I can imagine. So I don't think they said it. So I'm just gonna say I don't believe you.
All right,
Even
go
AI
for it. Go for it.
propaganda, the propaganda alone is breaking
Uh-huh.
brains, and the way that it's killing our neural pathways and ability to critically think. We already did not have that as a nation. But the studies coming out now
Uh,
out of MIT, for example, are extremely troubling with ChatGPT.
yeah, no, I mean, people who are coming out of college, yeah, they're not getting their full education. I mean, they're relying on AI to simply write a summary. So, trust me, it's just I get we complain about the left all the time, and they are just some of the worst in terms of people like Destiny and like in that circle. They're actually more where the party is, and I actually feel like their rhetoric is becoming more dangerous than even the left. And when
I
I
would
say
just
that, it's
say
just like,
like there is no where the party is. Okay, there is no where the party is. We have to be stewards of public opinion. Where can the party go? Where is the potential movement for the future? I'm sick of hearing where the party is or where the party's at or what the polling is now. Because right
yeah,
now, like the issue with white men, for example, young men especially of every race, of every demographic, young men in general. There is a systemic and seismic shift with young men that is not political. That's cultural. That's a change in their information landscape, a change in their mental health. And there comes to a point where messaging won't change it. We need to be changing the culture of America and advocating for a different culture in America and a real aggressive message on what the culture of America should be, what the narrative should be, what the American dream should be. Or what it ought to be. We need to participate in those areas because
yeah,
if white men want dictatorships, we cannot message. We cannot focus group a message to reach out to white men who hate women, who hate minorities, who hate democracy. We cannot reach out to them anymore. But we are losing the culture war. The culture war is
we
almost
are.
the only thing
Yeah,
that matters right now. With fascism, that's how they win. Is dominating the culture war. So either you can direct it to a economic war, economic populism,
mm,
but you need to have some
mm,
type of clear response when the culture war topics come up because they're really easy to emotionally posture off of. And
yeah.
anyone
Eh,
watching right now, thank you for joining us. Thank you for dropping a like, hitting subscribe. I'll take your calls in a second. We're getting the stream kicked off now. I see a couple of you are calling.
Oh,
But yeah, thank you to our
um,
first caller.
Jola, one last thing, and it's just a policy, not a policy, a narrative idea. If they bring up, getting, going against illegal immigrants and how they're taking our jobs, maybe we should pivot as a Democratic Party saying that something like that. I think would be really smart.
Oh,
Like
sorry,
AI,
you cut out for a second.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just saying a really good policy idea, something maybe you can grab onto or bounce it. You know how they always bring up illegal immigrants, they're taking your jobs or et cetera, et cetera. Maybe the Democratic Party should pivot or what do you call it, transition to, hey, AI, or they're prepping AI to actually be the ones that are taking your job.
Oh,
That's
the
actually what's going to take your
Palantir.
job.
Yeah, the Palantir stuff is interesting. But the only issue is like that's a big thing we could bring up and also AI job loss and all that kind of stuff. But also like Hakeem Jeffries is going to crypto fundraisers, okay, very often. He's very best friends with Mark Andreessen, who is a crypto fascist. And by that I mean neo-fascist crypto, whatever. Crypto in the sense of crypto, like cryptocurrency, whatever. From the PayPal
Mm.
mafia. And we have Chuck Schumer, who is currently egging Trump on to be more of a war hawk with Iran. So like, the current Democratic Party leadership does not even disagree with the Republicans. Like the whole meme lefties say of the two parties working towards the same direction. With Hakeem
Yeah,
Jeffries and Chuck Schumer, I think the party could be changed, obviously, because they respond to public opinion in some way. But they really are not fighting against the AI and militarization of our domestic and foreign affairs. Like they're not fighting against it effectively, and we need new leadership. I want oh my god, what's his name? His face. I see his face. No. Murphy. We need Chris Murphy to be the Senate leadership, and we need someone else to be the House leadership. I don't even care. Like even I think Jasmine Crockett called Trump voters sick in the head today or something. We need.
yeah,
I mean, I know she's not going to be House Speaker, but someone else who is. Hakeem Jeffries is fine. He's fine. He can stay. Okay, he's a net zero, but freaking Chuck Schumer is. Chuck Schumer
he's
might
got
be
to
the
go.
reason we fall to fascism. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go. But all right, Jola, take care. All right, thank you
All
for
right,
talking.
thank you for the call. Have a good one.
All right, bye.
All right, I'll take some more callers now. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe. I really need $10, guys. If you want to donate $10 to Jolah Politics, I love $10. Okay, as many $10 as or $5. I love $1 too, as well. To be honest, so Anyone who has $1, $2, $5, $10, I'll take any donation on Jolah Politics on Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, or Coffee.com, or become a channel member. Thank you for watching. Call now. Phone line's open. Number right there. Call, please. Call. Phone line's open. Call now. Nice, dude.
President Trump said America's primary goal with Iran must be to destroy its nuclear ambitions. We cannot allow this radical regime to acquire a nuclear weapon that they will either use or hand off to terrorists. In 2015, the president said the problem is that Iran poses an existential threat to Israel, our Middle Eastern allies, and the United States. And of course, the president has repeated that in his first term as president and his second term as president.
I mean, you could say a problem, but you can have like a huge range of ways to solve that said problem, you know? Like diplomacy or something. That's not regime change. Regime change doesn't work. It does not work sometimes, believe it or not. Hello?
Hello.
Howdy, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
So let's talk about Trump.
What about him?
So how you feel about the situation with Iran?
I think I don't know what to think. Trump is all over the place. He doesn't know much about the world, so you can be easily guided in any direction. So it could be up to a phone call he gets that sets his emotions off. He operates off of pure emotion and spite and power grabbing. So I have no idea what he believes. He has held every position you can hold about every issue in the world. I really don't know what he believes. I'm not gonna lie.
So, but he did give Iran 60 days to make a deal.
That was never like a strict line, right? That was never a strict line because they had meetings scheduled for the 63rd day too. There was never a communication that said 60 days is up and you get bombed. I mean, there's actually word that Trump did not know about Israel striking Iran, and Trump had to act like he knew because he didn't want to seem like he was bossed around by Netanyahu. So
yeah, he definitely knew. I mean, he got rid of everyone from the military bases.
Well, if he knew, then he's been lying the past few weeks. If he knew, he's been lying to the American people and lying to Iran on purpose on behalf of Israel to help them strike Iran. If what you're saying is true and Trump knew about it, because they've been negotiating, and they said it was in good faith with Iran, and Trump said he wanted a new nuclear deal and everything. So the some Israeli agents actually said that Trump has been lying about it to help Israel be more covert about it. And this is why this is why their leaders were at home with their families and stuff, because they did not expect to be attacked. They thought they were in a position to still negotiate. They would have been in a better defensive location if they were in any way expecting an attack, probably.
But are you okay with Iran getting nuclear weapons?
That's not the question, though. I mean, you could have, first off, you should probably have proof of them being close to nuclear weapons. There's no proof at all of that. Our intelligence denies it. The only ones that say there are nuclear weapons being developed or being close to being developed is Netanyahu and the current radical right-wing extremist Israeli regime. So, like, we don't have any intel at all saying that they're close to a nuke, and they don't have that technology near development at all. And there's nothing to say they do. So I mean,
do you believe Israel has nukes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
But like I would say for that, it's like, oh, do you believe that Saddam has WMDs? It's like, okay, well, even if you do believe that, having a big regime change for a country like Iran, it's much more powerful, much larger than Iraq and Afghanistan. And like you topple a regime like that, we saw how bad these other situations turned out. 90 million people, that's a big ass country. Like crazy shit can go down. Like some regimes are more stable than whatever other regime would take place because once the regime collapses, then the people with the guns take over, and whoever that is, whoever can win that current fight can be even more radical. But like there's no guarantee that the U.S. or Israel could even stop their nuclear production if they have it in that one mountain base. With any of the weaponry that we currently have in general. It just seems like diplomacy, when Barack Obama got the entire globe to sign on to the nuclear deal, that was probably the best way to go, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. I mean, North Korea got nukes. I don't think anybody would actually use Iran.
We're not bombing North Korea, right? So why are we bombing Iran at this point? We had, like I said, we had the nuclear deal that was signed on by the whole world, basically. So we should have kept that, in my opinion. But the neocons and Israel hated that deal. AIPAC, when Obama did that nuclear deal, AIPAC was fighting against that tooth and nail. They did not want that. They wanted to be bombing Iran. They wanted to topple Iran. And they still want to do that. But yeah, that's the way I think we should have gone.
How do you feel about the war in Gaza?
I haven't heard much about it recently. Yeah, I think Israel should provide aid and all that kind of stuff, and not do their humanitarian starvation campaigns or anything like that. I think Israel is really bad at managing the situation, especially with their PR and popularity. They look terrible in the media because they are doing terrible things, and they need to stop. But Netanyahu and their regime has joked about it, and they just shoot aid workers all the time, and they just don't care, and journalists and.
Yeah, they definitely do. I see, you know,
But Trump gave them a
time.
full pass, though. Trump gave them full passes.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah, that's nuts. But I feel like October 7th, Israel definitely knew that was going to happen before. And they just let it happen so they could use that as an excuse to, you know, take over the Middle East, basically.
Well, those settlements are in a very dangerous location, which is one reason why they're very radical Israeli citizens who are the settlers. It puts them in danger. It puts everyone in danger. It inflames tensions. Like, those are not very good places to be at in general for a multitude of reasons. I mean, they probably knew an attack was possible. I don't know if we have evidence to say like they knew it was going to happen. Like the return strikes right now from Iran and Tel Aviv, like they knew that was going to happen if they struck Iran.
They knew they were Hamas was preparing for military drills. And
well, yeah, but okay, so like, yeah, but they always are kind of preparing in some sense. So I mean, I'm not gonna go into those theories if they knew about it beforehand or anything. There is a lot of Israeli citizens don't like Netanyahu because they feel like he does tactics like that. So I mean, they've wanted this regime. They protest Netanyahu in Israel, which is why I'm very careful to not say like, oh, all Israelis are genocidal, because that's not true at all. That's why I don't. That's why I don't use the word genocide to describe it.
Israelis, but there are a lot of bad ones in there too. Even a good one.
Well, yeah, there's radicals in every. I mean, we have radical Christians in America.
Who grow up in boring and brainwashed.
Well, the people in charge of America right now, like the worst of Israel is equivalent to the worst of America right now. We have Christian nationalists. They have Zionists, which you could say are like Jewish nationalists, pretty much. Then you have like Islamic states. So we have our fundamentalist nations rising up all over the place. The only real secular nations are in Europe, to be honest. And we're talking about being like mostly secular and being a free democracy. But yeah, America right now is turning into, and it's always been a Christian nationalist state in some sense. But it was just more just like a patriotic, Christian leaning democracy that still held more values of all Americans in the past like 20, 30 years. But there's been a domination of Christianity, but the brand of Christianity that's taking power right now has never really been at the helm in America, because the brand of Christianity taking control of America right now, the Christian nationalists, that's more adjacent to the KKK than it is like they hate Catholics and they hate a lot of other Christian denominations or whatever, because of they disagree morally on things like treating immigrants like humans and stuff. So but yeah, do you have anything else to run through quick?
Yeah, one last thing. I just want to let everyone know, like, to be aware, because they are saying there's a lot of sleeper cells in America and that they're ready to attack because of everything that's going on, especially with Iran and in the war in Gaza and all that.
Yeah, increased terrorism is definitely.
That's why they put all the travel bans. There's about like over 30 countries with travel bans right now. Most of them in the Middle East and all that. But I don't know. We just gotta wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely not happy with it. I like diplomacy and all that shit, but you know, GG's. Thank you for the call. Have a good one.
All right, man.
Yeah. All right, another caller. Thank you for watching. Don't talk foreign policy anymore tonight. I'm too stupid for it. Drop a like, guys, for the algorithm. Okay, drop a like, please. Drop a like. Drop a like. Get me more viewers and more callers and more content. Oh, someone just called. It didn't. Oh, wait, try it again. Try again. I'll call you back, actually, because I'm nice. Who sent me a voicemail? I'm trying to call in. You call me back. Did I call you back? Wait, who wanted to debate? Where's this guy that wanted to debate me? A 9 number? Call me here. I'll call that number. that when was that? 9:59. You wanted to debate? I called this number back. He just called 4 times in a row. Okay, get off my. Hello. Not much. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Uh, I was just scrolling, dude, and I saw your Let's Debate.
Yes, sir. That's what we do it for. Yeah. What's up? What you want to talk about?
So I'm active duty Marine Corps, and I was just wanted to state I don't support I support either way, right? But I just wanted to see how you felt about the Marines being deployed to LA.
So what I've been saying is local officials, LAPD, never asked for even National Guard. Trump sent, I think, 2,000 at first, then 4,000, then another 2,000. So I think 6,000 total, when they were not needed at all. And then sending the Marines in, it seems like they're testing how to militarize American streets if the president just says we want to do this, even if the local government and state government says no, which I think is probably the biggest authoritarian infringement of like the federal government on states' rights that we've seen. Like imagine if Joe Biden used the Marines or National Guard without the state wanting it to go and enforce vaccine mandates or something, and he just like did things that were unlawful, and used the military domestically when there's no call for it, like at all. That's my biggest concern is the overuse of the military on American streets and militarizing it for no reason. And Kristi Noem said that their goal is to liberate Los Angeles from their elected officials, which is like the biggest authoritarian thing I've ever heard a politician say in my life, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean, man. And I understand it. I mean, I don't think they should be in LA, right? But I do have some concessions as far as like the border. So yes, I believe they should be at the border because I feel like our border patrol is overwhelmed, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I don't think they should be in LA because that's an American streets.
And there was no need for it at all. There's the
Yeah.
LAPD is funded better than most militaries, like globally. Like they have a bigger, like Los Angeles in general has a bigger economy than like 150 countries. And there's no need for it at all. And what we think about here is the commander in chief using the military for political means. Obviously, that's the big fear.
Yeah.
And that's why I've seen some protest in general. Some word from people in the military that don't like it because it does seem to be an authoritarian policy. Now with border patrol, I don't like seeing National Guard escort ICE agents into Home Depot to go after people who are here on working permits. I hate seeing that. If there is a real issue with criminals in America, like I've seen ICE agents go on college campuses to go after college students who are on visas because of their speech.
Yeah.
If they say something that's like anti-Israel or pro-Palestine, and like if they really have all this violent crime in America, then they should be spending all the resources they're spending going after Home Depot workers and farm workers and going after immigration courts and the people going for their legal process and taking away asylum claims and taking away protective status and going after students. Take all of those resources and put it towards criminals if there are enough criminals. But immigrants have a very low crime rate, and they have quotas in ICE to get high numbers. So I'm questioning, is ICE strained because they're actually doing their job, or because, and I'm not going to blame them themselves. I'm not going to blame the military for following certain orders of where they need to go. Like if the Marines are deployed, it needs to be a pretty high standard for someone to say that these orders are unlawful. So like all the liberals that go on TikTok, like, please remember your oath. You don't need to follow order. It's like they should probably just shut up if they did not serve, obviously. But yeah, there is a lot
Yeah.
of concern there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. And obviously I know the guys that are in 29 Palms, like a good bit of them. Not all of them, obviously, but I have friends in 29 Palms. And those guys necessarily don't support the LA, or they don't support the LA riots, but they also don't support going in there to stop it for the most part, from what I've heard. And I think going to the border, that's different because that's defending the country's border, but like that's a part of the duties. But at the same time, like, you know, like against American citizens is different. You know what I
But
mean?
also, like, consider if you have a protest of 10,000 people and five
Yeah.
people blow up a car. There's no reason the LA stuff should be called riots, because it really is like 10,000 to 1 when it comes to criminality in these locations. Like, if there were riots of all these people, you would see actual mayhem in LA, and most people in LA don't even know anything happened. That was a pretty routine thing for the LAPD. The fact it escalated to the National Guard and Marines without any state requesting it is unprecedented in American history for very clear reasons on like why you would ever even want that. So when Trump does that, he's purposely trying to inflame more protests and purposely trying to justify more use of the military on American streets. And my fear is, like, on election day, if Trump just says there's protests and riots everywhere, so therefore we have to nationalize every National Guard or federalize every National Guard, send them to every city, all these Democratic cities, and they, like, Trump tried seizing ballot voting machines in 2020, which he failed because he lost that election. I'm scared that he's going to try to do something using the military in America. Now, I am pretty confident that most people that serve won't follow stuff like that, hopefully. And in the leadership command structure, I know they tried replacing some people at the very top of the military, but I assume throughout the ranks there's going to be a lot of diversity in opinion. Obviously, like, everyone in the military has different opinions. It's not a monolith. It's not going to be one thought at all. Like, it's going to be a bunch of different people, different ideas, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're just concerned about especially when DHS has like full masking on for no reason, and they refuse to identify themselves when detaining and arresting people. That stuff can be really really spooky for America, which has freedom. It's not like China or
Yeah.
anything.
So as far as replacing people in the military goes, I can actually answer to that. So they have not done that. Surprisingly though, because like essentially military is separate from politicians. So what military does is they serve 4-year terms as like the commandant or the secretary, whatever, of the armed forces, like whatever armed forces, insert here. So they serve 4 years term, and then they are voted upon by a council to be replaced. And essentially, what has happened is there has not been any shift. It has been more of a, they promise different things to service members, and like I would say like I would say that, like, nothing different has happened with secretaries. It has been like more of a, higher up change as far as like the
Yeah.
political shift.
No, I know what you
Yeah,
mean, but like the big
yeah,
one that I go to is like General Charles Q. Brown Jr., the Joint Chiefs
yeah,
of Staff. They fired for like I'm guessing political reasons. So like them being fired and a lot of these women being fired from leadership positions seems to be pretty political. And I know they floated the idea of trying to reduce 4-star generals and making the military more of a executive authoritarian power structure in terms of like the chain of command or whatever. Like
yeah,
it just seems like they want less people making decisions, and that's always bad for freedom purposes because you want more people making decisions in the military or anywhere because you have more checks and balances for bad decisions. So when they're cutting a lot of the JAGs, what are they called? The Judge Advocates General, they cut a lot of them and replace them in all these different positions. It seems like there's been some ideological purging of the top of the military. Nothing extremely crazy, and like you said, there's a lot of processes, and I don't know the total number of people in the military. There's a lot of processes that can safeguard if they try to take like political control of the military, but also like that rally Trump did. I forget where that was, what base that was at, but that rally Trump did is like, in my opinion, like historically, if anyone who serves shows that much partisanship publicly, they probably would be dismissed in most situations. Like buying Trump merch on the premise and chanting for explicitly political messaging is really scary. We do not want the president to do rallies with active duty military. Like countries that do that are not good countries. We want to disconnect the military, and that's bad for the military too, right? You don't want Trump to use service members as props either, because then it creates a divide between the public and the military then too. So yeah.
So let me put it this way. Also, like to give you some background too, like I'm not like dissuading you from anything. I'm just saying like active duty military are banned from protests or rallies. We cannot participate in them. We cannot buy merch. We can't do anything. So we're supposed to be bipartisan. Like as far as the military goes, like we're supposed to be either or. Like whoever's in charge, we're supposed to support them. But Marine Corps is an exception as far as like supporting like whoever's in charge, because we're supposed to be the safeguard. But I'm not saying that we will or we will not. I'm just saying like Marine Corps is also banned from protests, and we are banned from buying merch.
Do you know what rally I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But I'm saying like essentially military is banned from going to rallies and protests, but Marine Corps is the safeguard against a tyrannical government, if that makes sense.
No, my only thing would be, so they were in uniform behind Trump, and they picked out certain people to ideologically sort who was going to be behind Trump at that, and they bought merch at that place too. So that seems to be against protocol, and it is against protocol. But the question is, like, can the commander-in-chief just allow that if they want to? Is there a way to say no about that? Because that is a huge line that we should not be crossing as a country. I would never want Barack Obama standing in front of the military at a rally saying something about, like, I don't know, about Trump and having the military cheer like that. We do not want the military or law enforcement to be emotional. We want them to be doing their job. So that's this is scary.
That's what I'm saying. It's bipartisan, because like we're not supposed to participate in either or, but we're supposed to participate in whoever is, like, we're supposed to agree with the orders that we're given, but we're not supposed to follow them if they're unlawful. Tracking?
Yeah, but okay, so at the rally, for example, the one thing would be Trump would say, this Gavin Newsom guy is a piece of shit, and they would all cheer loud as shit. Or he'd be like, these men and girls, and like they cheer loud as shit. Those explicitly partisan these public shows of partisan display. And under any other administration, I feel like that would not even be happening, for one. But also that is a restriction. And I know the military said they're going to look into how the merch was actually sold on the premise. But also, if the president's going to be there at an event, it's kind of weird for a vendor to sneak in to send merch without them knowing. So it just seems a little shady with that. I appreciate the call. Yeah. I appreciate your perspective on that. I'll give you the final word.
All right, man. Well, you have a good one, man. And I appreciate it. But I was just giving the Marine Corps perspective on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for everything you're doing. Definitely good luck out there. And if you ever want to come on and chat again about anything that happens, if anything else happens with Marines being deployed to support National Guard. Oh, yeah, one question I wanted to ask, actually, really quick.
Yeah, of course.
So I was reading about how, and I assume that not every Marine goes through the same riot and crowd control as like National Guard does, and it said something about how a lot of Marines, if they never went through protocol or training, they'd have to get sprayed with pepper spray because National Guard needs to. And is every Marine trained for riot or crowd control, or do many of those people that were being deployed, will those Marines need to go through the same things National Guard had to go through with riot control and pepper spray and all that?
Not necessarily. It would just be PMO, which is military police for Marine Corps.
Oh, okay.
So like it would just be like riot control for Marine Corps, but because we do have that, but necessarily like infantry Marines and how is it? I'm trying to think here, and predominantly like non-infantry roles, as far as like because they fill gaps with non-infantry roles as like trying to think of the word. So it's temporary infantry, essentially. Yeah.
So like if someone is not in the police, and they did not have training with riot, I'm just wondering. So I assume the police would have that training.
Yeah, it's
already,
everybody pretty much. Like,
okay,
like I'm assuming that they're basically putting in like infantry roles, because there's not very many like PMO Marines, and most of them have to guard the bases. So I'm assuming that it's predominantly infantry and filled roles.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you could say is like they should be, the only thing they should be doing is guarding federal property, so the law enforcement
Yeah.
National Guard does not need to. And the Marines should not be making direct arrests on civilians.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen
yeah.
more than likely.
Yeah, so yeah, if they're defending a property and they need to do that, then it's different. But there should be no active deployment of them like working with ICE doing direct deportations or anything. All right. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate the call, man.
All right, you have a good one, man.
All right. Thank you too. Have a good one. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Please donate to any MAGA folks left. Are all the MAGA people gone? I need more MAGA people. Don't ban them. Don't ban all of them. Wait, Vandred, I don't think you gotta delete those comments. Oh, was it spam? It looks like spam. I see y'all need to go to Korea and see how dictatorship works. I don't mind those comments. Oh, they were spamming it though. Oh, okay, then they used the R word. Oh, never mind. I see their messages. That's a little cringe. They're kind of schizo, huh? Spammy, spammy, spammy. Spammy Tammy. Why would you do that? Okay. Oh my goodness, bro. That was weird. Oh, wait. Okay, call back again, guys. Okay, call line's open again. Jesus. It's open again. It should work. Wait. Okay, it should work now. It should work now if you call. Ah. A dictator would allow free speech. Wouldn't. No president for 4 years. Now we have a strong president. Just say you're gay, bro. Just say you're gay. Just come out. Hello. I'm pretty good. How are you?
So I've only been tuning in for, I don't know, like the last 10 minutes of your video. And so kind of the reason why I called in was I feel like a lot of the debates that people have, both on the left and right, about Trump being a dictator or, being a savior or whatever, it seems like a lot of the debates kind of go down very, specific paths, if that makes sense, where we're talking about certain things, but it seems like there are a lot of important things that aren't in the debate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess you can say what things are usually talked about and what things, what are we missing?
Right, yeah, it's like, controlling the narrative. And I think, so a lot of the issues are selected based on kind of an emotional appeal. So there was this philosopher, he basically invented propaganda. So he was back in, I want to say it was the 30s. He came up with the term public relations. So all businesses use Andrew Bernays' approaches to basically influence public opinion. And one of the key elements to influence people is basically appealing to emotion. So you can try to have rational arguments with people, but that's not effective in getting people to do what you want. The most effective way from Bernays' perspective was appealing to emotion. So basically, on the right, kind of their propaganda approaches, the illegals are coming in, they're going to, steal your wife or whatever. And then on the left, you've got, Trump's a dictator, he's going to ruin the country or whatever. And this is really effective to get people to support your cause, because you're basically so for example, if you appeal to like where you feel like you're going to be attacked, or like something very primal, it basically bypasses the rational. We like to think we're rational, right? But like if you can approach like your messaging from that perspective, where it's like you're under attack, you're going to die tomorrow kind of thing, that bypasses any kind of like rational debate. And so I feel like a lot of the discussions kind of come from these like emotional perspectives that aren't really, it's basically like, it's not trying to be objective, it's basically manipulating people emotionally
Well,
to get
that's
them to
Trump's
support your
entire.
cause.
That's how Trump won the presidency without knowing little to anything about politics or policy. So yeah.
Oh no, 100%. But what I'm saying is, it's both directions. Like both teams are using the exact same tactics.
They need to, though. So like Democrats choose a weak narrative, like the threat to democracy thing. A better one's probably the whole wealthy versus powerless thing, which is an actual issue, or like AI. Trump signing up with Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and stealing our data and giving us a surveillance state. That'd be a good narrative. But liberals right now and Democrats have a very uniting centrist message that brings in like Liz Cheney Republicans and centrist independents that care about democracy, and all these people that care about the institutions of America and the Constitution. And then Trump is with all the people who are radically, they kind of want accelerationism, an end to the American empire, or America as we know it, because America has been too woke, and we want it to go back to how it was back in the day when white men ran everything. So like, or the immigrants are scary and all that kind of stuff, stealing our jobs. Those are the enemy. So I agree, but also liberals are based in far more factual logic than Republicans. Republicans have little to no factual logic whatsoever, whether it's their tax cuts, whether it's their big sell-off of federal lands they say is going to increase public housing or housing in general, which is a batshit crazy thing to even think about saying. The encouragement of political violence from the right is not comparable at all to the left. So I agree there is going to be emotional engaging in politics because you need to. But like objectively, like right-wing violence in general is far higher occurring than left-wing violence politically. We just had an assassination of a Democratic state lawmaker.
I mean, how do you measure that?
You can look at terror attacks and hate attacks on behalf of political ideology, and right-wing terrorism is a much bigger form of terrorism. Even the terrorism in the Middle East from like the fundamentalist Islam groups, that's even like far right. Essentially, they agree with the same social policies as MAGA. They're just not pro-Western. They're anti-Western. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's just basically that's the approach they are using to like, manipulate people, basically. Like appealing to, like fear of the other, or like fear of change and things like that. That's kind of like the approach, the right is using to, get the people to support, because like.
Oh, there's a study where the political violence and political threats to politicians from 2014 to 2016, and there was a huge spike when Trump announced his run for president. Like Trump is one of the huge reasons that political violence is peaking and at like a 20-year high. I'll find that study for chat then. I don't have it up right now, but there is really good information on that question. But I will find that. My bad.
Well, so talking about like, how people are like finding emotionally charged issues, but there's like other things that are like kind of looming that nobody's talking about. And so I if it'd be okay, I'd just like to share a little bit.
Oh wait, really quick with chat, really quick. Can you cite actual events of Republican violence? The assassin in Minnesota was a far-right Christian nationalist who used MAGA ideology, went after abortion providers, pro-choice advocates, and around like I think 70 different lawmakers. He believed in MAGA, and he believed in like it was his role sent by God to do all this stuff. He was a huge MAGA fan, huge Christian nationalist, and also the FSU, Florida State University shooter a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago, that was also far-right Christian nationalist terror attack directly. Now, Luigi Mangione, people put that on the left, but Luigi Mangione has written himself, he loves Joe Rogan, and like he loves Joe Rogan, he loves the PDP, PBT the podcast with Patrick Bet-David, he's a radical centrist. So yeah, there's a interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I want to respond to chat really quick.
No, that's totally fine. So this is something that, so I've been studying like the history of like empires, basically, which is like a classic, I don't know. But there's one dynamic that is super, super interesting that a lot of people don't understand. So you know how like, let's say like the wealth divide, which is a big issue, right? Like on kind of the left's perspective, it's, basically greedy people and they're, it's like the nature of like capitalistic systems is, centralization of power and stuff like that, which is true, but there's like a deeper layer to it that nobody talks about. And so basically countries as they, so I'll give you an example. So like the French Revolution, like we kind of think that the French Revolution was caused by, basically centralization of power, mass wealth inequality and stuff like that, and then you have a revolution. But there's actually, what caused that is, there's something deeper that caused it. So in the French Revolution, it was, I'm trying to think what war it was, but basically what happens is countries get super indebted, and how they basically solve the debt problem is they print a ton of money, which causes massive inflation because you're creating new money out of thin air that's not being like backed by taxes, right?
Yeah.
And so in order to like fund your debt, you have to monetize the currency, which is basically just printing money to pay for your debt. And what happens is that what that does is it basically is a wealth transfer mechanism. So it transfers wealth from people who work jobs to people who own assets. So for example, in like America today, you're like, why are home prices, $500,000 when the average person makes, $40,000 or whatever, And so like in the French Revolution, it was because like the French basically funded the Americans, but then they also had like wars with like England and stuff like that. So they racked up a huge amount of debt from wars. And so they monetized the debt, had massive wealth inequality from inflation. And then they had a revolution. In the Chinese Revolution, it was massive amounts of debt from the, the Opium Wars. Didn't have money to pay for the debt, so they basically printed money, mass wealth inequality, Chinese Revolution. In Russia, it was massive debt from World War I, massive money printing, big wealth inequality from inflation, revolution. And so when, because right now we're in the United States is in a similar situation, and historically it's typically expensive wars that bankrupt like empires basically, and so we're in a similar situation now where basically the debt is so high that we'll be forced to monetize the debt, which is basically printing money to pay for it. And as wealth inequality increases, you have more social instability, like riots and stuff. Like when I saw the riots or protests, riots, however you want to look at it, in like California, I feel like it wasn't about the issue. Like people were mad and they were looking for a way to like kind of lash out. And kind of an example of this, what I mean is, so when COVID was happening, I was studying about previous, pandemics and stuff, because like I didn't know what was going on and stuff. And during the Spanish flu time, there were massive protests, like massive social unrest from that whole situation. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then during COVID, the whole George Floyd thing happened, I was like, this is exactly what happened during the Spanish flu. And so that's what kind of led me to where it's like people get all stressed out, and then they think that they're all like getting bent out of, like they're all up in arms over the situation, but it's like they're, they're already like charged up, and it was just like something to, like them to like basically rage out at, if that makes sense. And
there
like
is truth to there is truth to the instability of income inequality in general. And right now with automation, a lot of the value from automation went to the top then. So if you had 200 workers and you have a new device that lets you have 5 workers, the value produced by those other workers, the productivity per worker is going to go up, but the extra excess productivity is going to go into the profits of the company owner at that point too. So that's one reason our income inequality surged so much since the advent of modern AI, automation, and all that kind of stuff in America. So that's a little bit unique to what we usually see in those scenarios.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, like, yeah, but it's I don't know, like basically it's the financial system. It's like the nature of like how money works with like fiat money, like leads to these outcomes. Like it's happened so many times, and it's specifically empires. Especially like
But
in the United States,
we did not have fiat money in these other revolutions you're talking about, though. We did not have fiat currency yet globally. We had the gold standard
they
and a bunch
did.
of other ways to do it.
Well, so that was the whole thing. Is like post World War II, when the United States basically took over as like the bank of the world, because England did the same thing. Like England had a reserve, like a gold-backed currency, but they basically abandoned it during, I want to say, maybe it was post World War II, but they racked up a huge amount of debt. But it's basically like it's the money printing is the issue. And even if you like claim, like for example, when the U.S. went off the gold standard, like we were basically issuing gold certificates even though we didn't have the gold to redeem it, which is essentially like basically printing money. And then when the French were like, hey, we don't think you actually have, the gold that back all these paper notes you're issuing to people, we want our gold out of the bank. And then the United States said, no, we're temporarily suspending, where you can transfer your paper currency into gold. And then that was the end of the gold standard in the United States. But I guess the whole point I'm trying to get to is I feel like these issues are like what I'm talking about is like understood in like kind of the financial community, and but from a political perspective, it's like it's not even in the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I would just focus more on like right now. I think our culture and social mode that we currently have is gonna lead to our society fracturing. AI is going to kill that as well. We're losing what it means to be human. Our moral foundation, our intelligence, our ability to have complex conversations is going to determine our survival. And right now, we just do not have an ability to do any of that. And we are probably just going to fall to some type of authoritarianism, and we have to advocate for a better form of authoritarianism because I don't think we're gonna avoid authoritarianism in general. And AI is going to make a massive surveillance state, and we need that surveillance state to be done ethically. So when people say like Democrats and Republicans want the same thing, there is some truth to that, but we need to make sure that the people who want to do like a kind, ethical dictatorship get in the position of power where they still listen to the people a little bit. But listening to the people can be a bad thing sometimes if the people want really, really shitty things like mass deportations and stuff. So, yeah, I appreciate the call. I want to give you a chance to end on something. I have one more person I think I'm going to talk to.
I don't know. Like AI is a whole other conversation we could talk about, but I feel like, well, so anytime there's like transformational change, like AI is a big transformational change, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, we'll probably be like, are we even human anymore? Or like what we thought was human, we're not that anymore.
Well, AI takes away every part of our AI takes away every part of being human that's enjoyable, which is really bad. So,
well, so like, I get what you're saying, but how much? So like, throughout history, we've had like massive like technological changes, and every time that happens, people, and this is like classic human, where like, for example, it's like your grandpa's like, oh, kids in this rock music, they're so ruined and all this kind of thing. And, like that's always been the case, whenever, I forget, there's a quote, it was something like,
it's different this time.
When a new technology comes out and you're a kid, it's like, always been that way. When a new technology comes out and you're like a teenager, it's a career path. And when a new technology comes out when you're old, it's bad.
Thank you, the U.S. Constitution on TikTok for the 5 roses. No, but like the issue is, AI is the same thing. So like you could say, for example, up until the 1940s or 30s, that we had like, oh, every new military invention is going to be pretty similar, or at least have similar impact and open up some more horizons, but nothing too crazy. But then we had the nuclear bomb, and the nuclear bomb really just blew the entire situation open. That was different. When the nuclear bomb came around, that was truly different. That's how AI is. We never had something that could replace every single thing that makes us human mentally, psychologically, our critical thinking, our ability to reproduce art. We've never had full realistic videos reproduced by a computer program. And social media was a huge seismic shift to society that would also warrant to have a crazy reaction to and fear-mongering about. And I think AI, there's no evidence at all that it's going to go good at all. is going to be terrible. On Facebook right now, you go on Facebook, you're going to find videos that have 300,000 likes and 10 million views. That's an AI picture of a dog saving a baby falling from a plane. A pug who's like flying. It's like the worst slop in the world,
Right.
but people eat it up. It's literally the slop machine. In 1984, there's a slot machine. It's literally the slot machine from 1984. Like that's what AI is. We're gonna be every single thing we're seeing globally right now is saying we're gonna live in 1984 within 20 years. It's really scary.
Oh yeah,
so.
no. Well, I would say probably like 5 years basically
Hey.
like improvement. But
I mean the stable dictatorships AI can create. I don't mean that.
well, I think so. Kind of my opinion is I feel like a lot of the problems that humans face is basically the byproduct of our own stupidity, like
yeah.
you know, like wars and things like that. And if we have something that, because like one of the big debates in like AI safety, quote unquote, is like getting AI to align to us. Because if we build something that's like smarter than us, like how do we think that we can control something like that, right? And so kind of the big thing right now is like before we create super intelligence, we need to be able to control it. And I'm thinking it's like I almost wonder if that's like flipped on its head. And kind of what I mean is we're basically what we want to do is we want to make the AI conform to our own stupidity. So like your infinitely stable dictatorship kind of where it's like the people who are like, oh, I get my self-worth comes from my position of power and all this kind of stuff, and I really don't want that to go away because like who am I if I don't have that, kind of thing. And what was I saying? But I almost wonder if it's like the flip where it's like basically humans need to align ourselves to AI, and that is under the assumption that it does become like basically vastly more intelligent than us.
Humans need to
But I
go
feel
away
like
from AI. This is the thing, and I'm gonna go to another caller then. But like, this is the thing, okay? AI should be used as if it's a very dangerous tool for work. So if you need to use it for work, you use it at work. You use it for work. We need other spaces where AI is completely removed from society. Now, AI can be fine if you're like, okay, let's say you go work in a nuclear energy plant. You could go do your nuclear energy plant and work with all these different substances there, but don't bring it home. Like we need some type of limit on AI and AI exposure. All these kids growing up on iPads, it was already going to be bad, but on iPads plus AI, holy crap! Parents are going to give their kids AI, and they want to make AI schools. Like we're going to be set up for an army of robots, and this is why whether it's like Pol Pot or any dictator, they want to go after the intellectuals instantly because they never want people to have critical thinking, and they're getting what they want. So not good.
no, I think in the short term it's definitely going to be an interesting like transition. It's basically you're going to have the people who are like kind of the people who are like, oh, the new, and then you'll have the like kind of traditionalists. It's interestingly similar to like kind of the Republican Democrat split, where the ideologies are like, the Republicans tend to be more traditionalists, where it's like we want to go back to the way things used to be, and but yeah, anyway, no, good conversation. Nice talking with you.
Yeah, nice talking to you. Definitely feel free to call in another time. We could talk about more dystopian AI topics. Very fun conversation.
Oh man, yeah, we could talk about this like a whole nother conversation, but nice talking with you.
All right, yeah, same here. Have a good night. Guys, I'm gonna do a little reset for the stream. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I'm live on TikTok too for one viewer. Thank you, one viewer on TikTok. My one TikTok viewer. Thank you. Someone go on TikTok and make sure my TikTok stream sounds good, by the way, if you want. And pump up my likes on TikTok, all right? If you have TikTok and you follow me on TikTok, Jolah Politics on TikTok, everyone who has TikTok, go on TikTok, please. Every one of you that has TikTok, go on Jolah Politics on TikTok and spam the like button, okay? Get me a bunch of likes, see if I can get in the algorithm at all. If you're calling in, I'm going to... If you're calling in, I'm gonna reset my stream really quick. I'll take your call in a second. I see a 952 number, a 323 number, and a 270 number. All right, 3 numbers. I'll take all 3 of you. Okay, but I have to restart my stream. So my stream's gonna end on here. Refresh my channel. My stream will be right back. Or go to TikTok. Or go to TikTok on Jolah Politics. Okay, go to Jolah Politics on TikTok, and you can watch from there as well. All right, but I'll be right back on YouTube. Refresh. Can you turn up your volume? My volume where? On TikTok? Do you need my volume up on TikTok? I'm Wait, my volume up right now, like this? My volume went down for a second. L YouTube? Oh. Okay, tell me later. I'm resetting my stream though. Reset. It's fine here? Okay.